everyone, welcome to my channel. I'm Jordan and today I am very excited to be kicking off a new reading vlog where I am going to be reading 3 new Book of the Month books. If you're not familiar with what Book of the Month is, really quickly, it's a monthly subscription service where you pay, I think it's $15 a month, and you get 1 brand new hardcover book. You can also choose to add on books if you want for even cheaper, but basically it's a really good deal for hardcover books, and they're always new releases, and they're typically books that are really hyped and people are really excited for. So it's a really great service, and I am obviously not sponsored. A lot of people on BookTube are, but I am not sponsored by them. But at the beginning of this year, I was gifted a 6-month subscription to Book of the Month. So I have been collecting a few books so far, and I do not want to be one of those people who hoards Book of the Month books and never actually reads them. So as of now, I own 3 books of the month and I want to read all 3 of them. So let's talk about the books that I'm going to read as part of this video. So the first book is Girl A by Abigail Dean, and this was a February 2021 Book of the Month pick. You get 5 to choose from if you're not familiar, but they typically always have at least 1 mystery thriller option, and this was February's mystery thriller. So I picked this. I knew nothing about it, and it appears to be about a girl who grew up in a house of horrors and escaped. We will see. Haven't really heard or seen many reviews on that one either, so excited to get to it. And then the March 2021 mystery thriller Book of the Month option was Too Good to Be True by Carola Lovering, and this is one I obviously chose. Basically, again, because it was the mystery thriller option. I know basically nothing about it, but since it has a ring on the front, I am assuming that it has something to do with marriage and lies, probably cheating. We'll see how I feel about it. Also haven't seen many reviews on that one. And then the last one that I'm gonna read is The Push by Ashley Audrain, and I'm actually not sure if this was an original Book of the Month option, but I chose it as an add-on last month. It is another mystery thriller that I have seen some phenomenal reviews for, so I'm very excited to read this one. I don't know much about it either, other than I think it has to do with a mom who has a child and it's not what she expected or thinks or something like that. Very interested. We'll go ahead and get right into the video. This will be vlog style. I'll talk about each book as I read them. There will be no spoilers. So if you own any of these books, definitely stay tuned to hear about if I liked them and if you should pick them up. I am on page 125 of Girl A, and it has only been 3 chapters. So, very long chapters. This is a very slow moving book so far. So very briefly, what this book is about is this family who has become notorious or kind of famous in the news because they had, because the parents had abused and essentially held their own children captive. They had done that for many years, and we're following Girl A, who is the oldest daughter of the family, who's the one who escaped and set the rest of the children free. It's still unclear at this point to me what exactly happened within the house. We're still learning that through flashbacks, but this book is told in a really interesting way. First of all, it jumps all over the place when it comes to time period. We're following Girl A in present day as well as in the past, before their parents became super abusive, and then kind of during it, and then some in between. It just jumps around a lot. And then it also jumps a little bit between the different siblings. So while we're always in Girl A's perspective, she kind of tells each chapter so far through the lens of one of her different siblings, which is just interesting so far. I don't have too much of an opinion yet, because I still feel like I just don't know a lot about the story. I'm a little worried about how it's going to come together and whether I have the memory and attention span and brain capacity to put together all the puzzle pieces. Again, because we are jumping around so much, I'm just worried that details are getting missed, or I might be getting time periods confused slightly or something, that it might just not all come together in my mind at the end. But I'm still open. I think that it was probably written this way for a reason, so I'm hopeful that there is a purpose, whether it's for shock value or for reveal's sake, or for, I don't know, some other reason, that this is how the story's told, and that it's all worth it at the end. So definitely keeping my hopes intact and trusting that this book will pay off. I am reading it physically as well as listening to it via audio, just because of the slow pace, the long chapters, the confusing timelines. It really helps to have both formats to keep me pushing through the story, so I'm definitely going to keep doing that. And I'm hoping the next 200 pages go a little faster than these first 125 have. But I will be back with an update when I have it, when I hopefully know a little bit more about the story and my feelings on it. I won't spoil anything, so at least this far I can't really spoil anything because, like I said, I don't feel like I have the whole picture. But I will, of course, let you know how I feel about the ending. Hello guys, good news and bad news to share with you. Good news is I finished Girl A. Bad news is I don't have a lot of good things to say about it. I did not enjoy this book. Going back to what I said in the previous clip about the timelines being confusing and the perspectives being a little confusing, I stand by that. It never really cleared up. Right off the bat, I think the book would have benefited from a more linear timeline so that I as a reader could grasp what happened when this family was in the house, what happened, you know, right after Girl A escaped, and then what's happening in present day. It just would have helped my mind wrap around it a little bit more. I think I would have connected more to our character and her siblings if I knew a little bit more exactly what timeline I was in or time period I was reading about, as it explained, you know, their emotions and everything that was happening to them. And on top of that, this book is just really sad. As I was reading, I kind of realized that it was reminding me a lot of how I felt reading My Dark Vanessa, which is a book about a teenage girl, 15-year-old girl, who enters into a relationship with a teacher of hers. And that was just a really sad story about this teacher grooming her and really abusing her and her not realizing it. And that one, I was hoping, you know, because it was kind of that taboo subject, that it would be interesting enough that I would really enjoy the story, despite how sad it really is, but it just made me sad. That was it. And this is kind of the same way, where I was hoping the story would be interesting enough with this family and these parents who are being so abusive to their children, but in the end, I just felt so bad for these children, and I didn't really want to read about the parts when they were in the house being abused. And because I didn't care about that part of the story, then I also didn't really care about where they were, you know, after the fact. So I am going to give it 2 stars. I have seen other reviews, I've heard other people talk about this book already, and I'm seeing a lot of the same type of thoughts. So I don't think I'm alone in this, unfortunately. I don't think it's a me thing, I think it's a book thing, and I wouldn't recommend it to other people. So if you didn't get this book as part of your book of the month, you're definitely not missing out. And if you did get it and haven't read it yet, I unfortunately wouldn't really recommend it unless that premise does just sound really intriguing to you and you know that you have the brain capacity to really, you know, focus and pay attention to the different storylines. There were a few twists in the book. I'm not going to say much more about them, but to me they definitely didn't make up for the whole rest of the story and my feelings that I had about the story until that point. So I am glad to be done with this book and on to the next one. So the next one I'll be reading is Too Good to Be True by Carola Levering, and I've started reading it, but I'm only on page 21. So I really don't know a lot about the plot so far. I haven't read the synopsis or anything, so I'm going in completely oblivious to what's going to happen, and I love doing that with thrillers because then, you know, all of the twists can hit me with their fullest impact. All I can say so far about it is that it seems like it's going to be a domestic type thriller between like a man and his new girlfriend and his ex-wife. So all kinds of relationship dynamics there. I don't typically like domestic thrillers like this. I just don't enjoy reading about people cheating on their spouses and everyone has skeletons in their closet. It's just unrealistic to me and not that fun to read about. But I know that a lot of people absolutely love that type of thriller. So I'm definitely going to stick to it and keep an open mind and let you know what I think of it, especially so that those of you who do enjoy that type of book will know if this is one you should pick up or not. Okay, 96 page update of Too Good to Be True. I'm actually really liking it. I pretty much flew through the first 96 pages. And I will say that this book is actually doing right what I didn't like in Girl A. So this book is told in 3 perspectives, and I think the reason I'm liking it so much is because I went in without knowing anything, so I'm not gonna really talk about the plot that much. I'm just gonna say that it is told in 3 perspectives, and each of the perspectives are in a different timeline, but it's done in a very straightforward, easy to comprehend way. So I know exactly who I'm reading from, I know exactly when I'm reading about them, and it's easy to grasp the story. And so far it's not too over the top with unbelievable, you know, drama and secrets and the things that I said I typically don't like in domestic thrillers. So I don't know if it's going to go that direction. Probably some secrets will be revealed, but at this point I'm liking just reading about the characters and the situation that they're in. So that's really good news. Hoping to get another really big chunk in tonight. Unfortunately, I don't have the audiobook for this book or anything, so I'm not able to do other things and listen to it, but I'm going to speed through the things I have to do tonight. I'm going to be wrapping some birthday presents for my husband and then taking care of a couple other, you know, house chores and things, but then I have a night to dedicate to reading, so I'm going to do that, and I will let you know when I have another update. Might not be until the end because again I don't want to spoil things, but I don't know, I'll be back when I have something to say. I'm really excited to get back into it though, so that's a nice change of pace and a nice difference from the first book that I read for this video. Quick update because I just made it to part 2 of Too Good to Be True. This is about page 150. If you've read this book before, I just finished a pretty major part in the book, a pretty major scene, and now it looks like at the beginning of part 2 the perspectives might be shifting slightly in the timelines. So just wanted to come on and say I'm really enjoying it at this point. This book is definitely taking me by surprise by how much I'm invested, by how much I want to know what's happening, and by how equally invested and interested I am in the different perspectives and timelines and everything. Like, just everything is really coming together in a great way, and I'm interested, and so I'm gonna keep reading. But I just wanted to document my thoughts right here because things are about to shift, and it's possible that this is the point where, you know, it takes off and turns into a 5-star book, or where things take a turn and I'm disappointed. But I want to document this point where I'm really, really excited to keep going. So I'm gonna do that. I want to keep going. And I have now finished Too Good to Be True. We are at my in-laws house right now, actually, and very last minute, the night before we left, I was able to finish this book, and I'm happy to say that I was really pleasantly surprised by it. Overall, I'm gonna give it 4 stars. The ending just wasn't quite there to make it a 5-star, and the big twist in the book, while I think it was a good twist and it was logical, it was a little bit predictable. To me, it was kind of the only thing that could have happened that would have made sense with all of the relationship dynamics and things like that. So I saw it coming, and there were no other twists that really blew me away. And so if there were, it probably would have bumped it up to a 5 stars, but without it, it was still a really solid book and a really enjoyable read. I had a good time reading the entire thing, which is fun. And I'd actually say that I enjoyed it more for the story itself than for it being like a twisty, thrilling thriller. So as someone who typically doesn't really like domestic thrillers that much, I'm really happy that I enjoyed it, and I would really, really highly recommend it to people who do like domestic thrillers. I think this will be right up your alley. Overall, I'm glad I read it. And I can also give a really quick update on The Push. I have started reading this. I'm only on page 50, and this is, I was gonna say not what I was expecting, but with this one I also went in knowing relatively nothing about the plot, so I wasn't really expecting anything to begin with, but it's told in a really unique perspective. It's told in second person perspective mainly, so our narrator is saying you, and I think I know who they're talking to, but it's being a little cryptic in exactly who the characters are and who's being described and what is exactly going on. So at the 50-page mark, I'm a little confused, but I'm still very much open. All I can tell so far is that this narrator has some motherly baggage, both from her own mom, and it sounds like the mothers in her past, in her ancestry, and then her herself as a mother. So I'm trying to figure out how that's all going to come together. I like reading about a lot of the motherhood pieces as a mother. I think it's very relatable. It's talking about a lot of the struggles that come along with being a mom, you know, where a lot of other people like to sugarcoat it or act like every single moment is absolutely perfect, when of course that's not the case. Of course there are difficult times, and it sounds like for this main character, those difficult times are the majority of her times. So interested to see how that plays out. I'm not going to give too much of a synopsis before I know really what it's about and what, you know, you should and shouldn't know going in. But I will likely be back once I finish this book and once I can wrap up this video and my thoughts on the first 3 Book of the Month books that I picked out. Okay, time to wrap up. So it's been a busy weekend. It's Easter weekend, it's Sunday night, and we were traveling this weekend. Like I mentioned, we went up to visit my husband's family, and they live about 7 hours away from us. So we took Friday off, took a long weekend, but even so, it was still a really busy weekend. A lot of driving, a lot of family and people to see, but it was good. And during that weekend, I was able to finish The Push. So I have finished all 3 books for this video now. Really bummed because I don't have glowing things to say about this. So I have actually seen really, really great reviews about this book. And I think part of it is expectations of what this is going into it. So this is not a heart-pounding, you know, thriller. And it's really not much of a mystery either. It's just kind of an intense drama. So part of it is I don't usually gravitate towards that type of book. And the other part is the subject matter. I did find it to be pretty disturbing. So a really brief synopsis. I won't go into anything that I would consider spoilers, but basically this is following this mother who has children and doesn't feel like she's fit to be a mother. And we kind of find out that it kind of seems like her whole family tree, you know, her mother and her grandmother and her great-grandmother all kind of had that same feeling of not feeling like they're fit to be mothers, feeling like their kids just have something bad or evil inside them. And so we're seeing that kind of play out for this one specific mother. And there are some really disturbing scenes in here. I definitely would advise to look up trigger warnings if you are sensitive to kid stuff in general, but again, specifically just kind of going with like the evil kid trope. After reading this, I don't know if I need to read that in any other books. I've heard of a couple that do similar things with like evil children terrorizing their families, and I don't know if I need to read any more of that. But unfortunately, this was overall just a little disappointing to me, and I am going to rate it 3 stars. I would say I would specifically recommend it to those who like, you know, the really dark and disturbing, don't care if it's about children, and are going into this knowing that it's more of that family drama, learning the family history and the dynamics and what just happens to this specific family. So with that said, a very brief wrap up of my first 3 Book of the Month books ever. Girl A again was 2 stars. Unfortunately, Too Good to Be True was 4 stars, and The Push was 3 stars. So a 2, 3, and a 4. Kind of nice to get some diversity in my ratings there, but unfortunately no 5-star books. I'm a little bummed about that, but I'm still hopeful. I think that Book of the Month could pull out some winners for me. I actually just selected my April books, and I say books because I picked one of the main ones, and then I did 2 add-ons. So those should be coming soon, so I will definitely be doing another new Book of the Month books video. Please let me know if you have read any of those 3 books that I just talked about. What are your thoughts on them? Or if you're a Book of the Month subscriber, how have you liked the service, and have you found new favorite books through it? Or are the books that you like through Book of the Month typically books that you probably would have ordered anyway? I'm a little nervous that that's what's gonna happen, just because some of the books that they select are super hyped authors and new releases, and I probably will pick those, and I probably, hopefully, will love them. But they might be books that I would have picked up anyway, and then the extra books that I'm getting might end up being overall disappointing. So we'll see how it turns out, and I'm excited to do videos about it in the meantime. So you guys, if you've been considering any of these books, you now can have a little bit of a better of an idea before you choose them. So with that, that's all I have. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you in my next one.